behind me, 2004 F150, we're gonna be replacing the cam phaser on the passenger side. Now, whether you're replacing the passenger side or the driver's side, the procedures are very similar. So if all you need is just the phaser without the whole timing kit, this is how we're gonna do it. Now, you don't have to drain the coolant. You can if you want, but it's not necessary. But if you are doing the passenger side, we do have to disconnect some AC lines. So we want that AC evacuated. So if you don't have the equipment to do it yourself, go ahead, take your truck up to a shop, have them evacuate it, do the repairs. When you're all finished, you can take it back to that shop and they'll recharge your AC for you. Let's get started. Just for removing the valve covers, I'm gonna use footage that I already have from a different truck. In that video, you'll see me remove the upper radiator hose, the fan, and all this front stuff. That's not necessary to pull the covers off, but it does open up a lot of room. So if you wanna do that, start by draining the coolant. If you don't wanna do that, it's not necessary. Let's do this. The coolant drain is right there on the passenger side, 19 millimeter. So there's only two real tricks I know to make the job go smoother. First, take the tires off, lower the vehicle as low as it'll go, have it on jack stands, and this will make having to climb up on the engine and all that stuff just a little less. Having to get up on a step stool and stuff just a little less. And then we're gonna take this fender well out. This is just the passenger side. Driver's side's not a big deal. Passenger side, if you look, let me turn the light on. Right there, you can see the valve cover bolts are easier to get to from the wheel well than they are from the top. To get the fender off, there's just a couple of bolts here, some clips, some more bolts around here, but it's not too bad pulling this off. So let's start on the driver's side. This is the easiest side, then it makes it feel like we're making progress. Power steering pump reservoir, follow this black bracket all the way down. We'll get that loose. I don't think it has to come all the way off, just loose, and then this whole thing can just get pulled out of the way. So an 18 millimeter deep, I'm gonna put the socket on first and then put my ratchet on. This coolant hose is annoyingly in the way. And I dropped my socket. Let's remove it. We're just gonna remove this coolant hose here. There we go. Let's give it another spin. There, that's the ticket. Let's see if that's enough. Okay, let's pull it off a little more. So it's still not all the way off. It's just unbolted a little more. Should just pop off, I thought. You're making me look bad. There we go. So, I don't know if you can see it, but it is notched right here. So that bolt doesn't have to come all the way out, but maybe just for getting this bracket off, pull it all the way out. But it's important to start it back in when we put everything back together. Otherwise, this bolt is a butt trying to get back on with this in place. So pull it all the way out to get this off, but when we put this back on, start at a few threads, and then you can slide this notch over the bolt. Cool. Let's just go ahead and separate this from the bracket. Easy enough. 3 8 millimeter bolts. These two come off. This bottom one doesn't have to, just loose. Let's just bungee this out of the way. Let's keep moving. We can unplug this, we can unbolt this, 15 millimeter. Unplug this. There's a little green tab that you just push back and it should pop off. Same with on the manifold. Just a green tab here. Plug our VVT solenoid, coils and injectors. Okay, comes off of this little stud here and this stud back here. This can get unplugged on top of this harness and snaked under. Just remember that it went under, but I guess going over wouldn't hurt, but it did go under. Move this out of the way like that. And right down here, the harness is clipped onto the valve cover. We'll just pull that off. There we go. It's out of the way enough. Pull our coils off, 7 millimeter. So now we want to vacuum out around the spark plug holes, top of the valve cover, get as much of that stuff as we can off, and then we'll take an air hose and get all the fine stuff out. So now we'll take our dipstick tube. We don't have to pull it out, just loose so it can get moved out of the way. So we'll move this hose back out of the way. 8 millimeter, that just allows it to move. Now we can pull off all our valve cover bolts, 8 millimeter. I'm gonna start in the back because those are the hardest. And there is one in the far, far back. You have to feel it. All right, now they're broke loose. I'm gonna go back through and get them with my electric ratchet. So now we're ready to pull our valve cover. On the side here, they give us just a little lip. I wanna pry up on that. There's RTV on both sides, so it may stick a little. And we can get this up and out. Before we get this all the way out, let's take our variable valve timing solenoid off. Let me pull you around and I'll show you that. It's a little Torx. All right, it's a T27, and we'll pull this off on the other side first before loosening the valve cover. So you actually pop this little cover off here and then get an extension down in there and pull it out that way. We can do it this way, it really doesn't matter. Okay, now let that bolt out. Pop the whole thing off. There we go. Little oil drippage. Now we will be replacing these with new updated Ford parts. Here we go. Let me unplug this. We'll give our harness a little more room. Unplug this up here. There's a red tab. Pull the tab out and then just pinch. There we go. That gives us a little more room. So sweet, this side's done. Pull off our old gasket. Okay, so let's start working on the passenger side, the right-hand side. It'll be a little more involved, take a little longer, but we'll get it done. I'm gonna start by removing the battery. 8mm on these posts. This one's a little fuzzy. We'll take care of that. 8mm for the tie down. Then we'll pull our battery box off. 13mm bolts. And this wiring harness here connects to it. We'll just pop those off. Having a pair of pliers like this works really good. And there's one vacuum connector in the back. I want to make sure you don't forget that. Vacuum hose. And again, if you need a little pick to get in that hose, sometimes they like to stick. So next we'll remove our engine computer, pull these tabs back. That unlocks them. Do that to all of them. And then we got 10mm bolts holding it in. And then our computer bracket, 10mm bolts for that as well. Oh man, I didn't have my microphone hooked up, so that sound is probably horrible. Next, we want to work on getting our AC stuff out of the way. Really, it's the receiver dryer that we want to remove. So you followed this top hose all the way back. There's a black clip that comes off. It just has these little push pins here, slides right out. Let me show you inside. We'll need a special tool. Looks like this. We can rent them from the auto parts store. If you don't have your own set, I forget which side we need. It may be a 5/8, but we'll see when we get in there. So let me show you real quick what we're doing. So right on that black ring, we're gonna put our tool on this side. Let's move this white ring out of the way. There we go. All right, got our AC line off. Now, if you ever have used one of those tools to take off a fuel line, it's very similar. Now we'll remove this bolt here, 13mm. Okay, we have an electrical connector here we want to pull off, and then it looks like it's a 7/16. It should come out. Just wiggle and finesse. It's the word of the day. Got it. Okay, so that clears up all of this for us. Now let's start working over here. We can pull this off here. We're gonna pull this off here, 10mm. This electrical connector, 15 on this bolt. Plug this. So we're pretty much just unplugging stuff, freeing stuff. Not a whole lot of art to it. We'll move this hose out of the way. Okay. Same thing here is just that little green tab that comes up and out. We'll undo it from up here too. All our ignition coils. We got this connector here. There's a red tab we want to pull up. And then same thing, it harnesses connected to the top of the valve cover. We'll pull that off. And I'm gonna undo this vacuum line. There we go. Just so that's out of the way. Boom, pretty much up and out. Let's pull our ignition coils off. So now we'll do the same thing. We'll vacuum it out really well. All right, there was one zip tie right here that we cut, so we'll put a new zip tie on when we install everything. And then there was just one more little clip holding it on to the cover here. So we got that off, and now we're excellent. Super free. So let's go ahead, work on our bolts all the way around. So again, this is why we removed the fender well. We got perfect access to all our bolts on this side. Plus, we have to remove the dipstick tube for our transmission. There's a bolt right here, 18mm bolt. Easy access from right through here. All right, here we go with our second valve cover. Same thing, we just wanna pop it up, break that seal. There we go. Let's kinda get everything out of the way. There we go. Oh yeah, we forgot our VVT solenoid. Man, I knew I was gonna do that. You just get so excited, you wanna get the valve cover off. Okay, so I think this might be a little more challenging. So there's a 13mm bolt holding this bracket on, and that just gets this AC line just a little more out of the way. I think that's really what is holding us up the most. There we go. There. So now let's get access to our solenoid, just like on the other side. That should pop out pretty easy. Just like that. There we go. Sweet, man. That was the hardest side. Now we can start working on our front cover. Oh man, for me, this is gonna be a bigger job. Let me show you. If you look right up top, hopefully you can see it. That is the timing chain guide has broken. It's kind of hard to see in there. So I'm gonna have to pull this whole front cover off, but I don't wanna do that on this video. I already have a video for that. What I wanna do is just replace this phaser. So I'm still gonna do that just for the sake of this video, but in my reality, I'm gonna have to pull the whole timing cover off. I just wanna show you too, if all you're doing is the phaser, we do not have to drain the coolant. We can leave our coolant hose on, we can leave that hose on, that's perfectly fine. Now, if you want a little more room, by all means drain the coolant, take these hoses off, but it is not necessary if all you're doing is the phaser. First thing we wanna do is set our timing. This is the passenger side, so we want the R pointing straight up. So we'll just turn our crankshaft clockwise until our R is in the up position. If you're doing the left hand or the driver's side, we want the L in the up position. Then we'll take a permanent marker and we'll mark this link on one side of the R and this link on the other side of the R. Just like that. Perfect. Now we have a special tool that'll go in here to wedge the chain so we keep tension on the chain. Let me grab that real quick. So now we'll take our wedge and we'll fish it in. Might need a flashlight. I'm gonna have to fish mine around the broken guide. But yours should just slide right in very easily. There we go. Okay, until it wedges. Perfect. So that's it. Now that's gonna keep our chain nice and taut. Now we can take off our phaser bolt. It's a 15mm. There we go. Okay, that's off. Zip it out the rest of the way. All right, let me reset you up in a better spot. Finish taking this bolt out. There we go. And make sure your new phaser comes with a new bolt. These are one-time use. All right, now this should be able to wiggle right off the cam. There we go. We'll pull it down. Okay, and then we'll just take our chain off. There we go, just like that. There we go, just like that. Then the phaser comes out. Now I did not remove any rockers, any roller followers, they're all still in. And my cam did not spin on me. This passenger side does tend to want to spin clockwise, so it'll spin in that direction. That's perfectly okay. We can take a rag if that happens to you, put it over the cam, take a pair of vice grips, and we'll just manually turn it back. We want this dowel key in the up position. So now with our new phaser, we have our dowel. We want that to line up with the dowel slot on the cam. So it'll go on this way. We want to make sure that lines up. While on this side, we're going to make sure that our colored links fit right over our R. There's an L and an R. We want to make sure that that is correct. The R goes on the passenger side, the L goes on the driver's side. So just depending on which side you're doing. We'll put the chain on this first. So we'll go ahead, grab our chain. Get the colored links right over. Perfect. Okay, just like that. There we go. All right, let me look at the back real quick. You can tell you have it lined up when the phaser slides all the way back. So I am gonna put the bolt on the front, lock it in place. Pull our tool out. All right, let's inspect it. Our front timing marks right on the money. We'll make sure that we're seated all the way in the back. Turn the light on. We're seated all the way in the back. Perfect. So now we'll want to torque up our bolt. Because I have to still pull all the timing cover and all that stuff off, I'm not going to torque this bolt just yet. But it's 30 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. And how we get our 90 degrees is we'll mark the front of the bolt straight up and down vertical, and then we'll turn it 90 degrees, and that line will become horizontal. So it'll start vertical, and then we'll turn it horizontal. That'll be 90 degrees. Then we slap everything back together, and that's it. I just want to show you close up what I was trying to show you through the cover. This is the cam phaser that I showed you how to replace. We got our blue marks on it. And this is the timing chain guide. Mine just kind of blew apart. Just all into pieces. So I imagine if this phaser was rocking back and forth, the timing chain was getting some slack in it and just slapping up against that guide and eventually blew it apart. So just something to think about. If you're only replacing the phaser, take a really good peek down that cover the best you can. On both sides, just take a really good look. Make sure everything is still intact. So on this side, I am gonna reset the timing. Make sure all my marks line up. Get a new tensioner and new guides. Just wanna show you that. Where the timing cover and the head meet, we wanna get rid of that silicone, any leftover RTV in that crease. We're gonna be applying new RTV, so we wanna make sure that that's nice and oil-free as well. With some brake clean, we'll put on our new gasket. And right here where these little square notches are, we wanna make sure that that's oil-free as well, because that's gonna be what's touching the top side of our RTV. Now our new VVT solenoids did not come with a new cap. Because these were not leaking, we'll just go ahead and leave these caps the way they are. So before this sits all the way down, we'll make sure that we put our VVT solenoid, just like how we took it out, lift this up, put the new one in, tighten it up, and then this could set down on it. Just a dab of RTV. Really doesn't take a lot because it'll squish out, just covering that seam there. Same with this underside, we can get it from the wheel well. Makes it easy. All right, now be careful snagging your gasket on anything on its way in. We'll just be nice and careful, make sure we don't snag on our cam caps. Move this all out of the way. Nice. Okay, everything clear on the front. I'm just gonna set it down. I'm gonna get a flashlight and just make sure our gasket is still intact and in the groove in the back. I'll go through the wheel well. All right, looks good. And all the way back there, looks good, sweet. Now let's get some finger tightened. Look at that, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, so now we wanna put our VVT solenoid in. All right, sits right in, boom. Get that tightened down. Don't drop any of your tools down there. That would make me cry. Probably even put a rag right there if you're worried about dropping anything. Okay, snug these up, snug it up. It's not very tight. Okay, let's set this back down. Should go in the hole like that. Boom, just like that. There we go, get a couple of them going. So we'll snug a few of these down, wait for that RTV to tack up, and then we'll torque them. 89 inch-pounds, starting from the middle, working your way out. Let's hop over to this side real quick. Should be a lot easier. It's a little RTV here. Bungee up these wires, it'll probably be easier. We'll have to see how this goes, because we were kind of fighting this hose here a little, and the dipstick tube a little. But let's see. All right, so I think I'm just hanging up in the back just a little. So it's just that last cam cap I need to clear. Oh, there we go. Okay, give it a good visual again. Make sure that gasket is still on. I think we're good. VVT solenoid. All right, good and snug. Now I hit this spot with the RTV, so I'm just gonna give it just a smidge extra. Okay, set it down. All right, we'll snug all these down and then torque them, 89 inch-pounds. Cool, I'm gonna do this off camera, and then it's just a matter of putting all the electrical back on, putting our serpentine belt on, fan back on, shroud back on, oil, coolant, and then we'll run through the starting procedure. Okay, so my SD card is almost full, so buttoning everything back up will just be quick. I'll point some stuff out, but really it's just putting stuff back on, mostly just electrical stuff at this point. Got the ignition coils back in. Don't forget our dipstick tube bolt. Then our bracket for our power steering pump fluid. There's that bolt down there we want to tighten up. On this side, we got our AC stuff to put back on, our engine computer, battery. Don't forget our transmission dipstick tube bolt down there. A couple of brackets up front, the radio frequency interference thingy. We'll put those back on. And I think that's the majority of it. If there's anything that sticks out to me as I'm putting the rest of it back together, I'll let you know. Otherwise, we'll see you at the startup. All right, just a few things on this side. So this harness goes on this side of the filler, not on this side. When you put it on, it may want to be on this side. That's okay, you can take the filler cap off and then it'll just barely squeeze over this neck to get it on, but it goes on this side. The other thing is the AC. Put this on first before putting that back one on, because you'll need this to move around, that dryer to move around to get this back on. So this first before the back will help. I did the back first and regretted it. Other than that, this electrical for the computer goes under this AC line, not over. If you forget that, that's okay. It'll slide in between. I think that's about it as far as putting it back together, some of the technical nuances. All right, that's it. If all you need is just the cam phaser, then this is how you can do it without tearing off all the timing and the chains. We just want to make sure that we have our wedge in there, nice and solid. That'll hold our chain in place. So when we do pull the phaser off, the chain won't fall down inside and the tensioner will stay tensioned. And that's it. If you'd rather do the full repair, timing and everything, go ahead, click on this video. We have a full length walkthrough where we do everything. Phasers, roller followers, high pressure pump, timing kit, the whole works. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comment down below. See you on the next one.